Welcome everyone to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. And if you're on YouTube, if you've been watching any amount of YouTube at all, I don't need to introduce this man, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. It's Grant Arthur from Grant's Rock Warehouse, also the Contrarians.
There
And
you go.
I've guested on many an episode with Grant. I've never had him on TVC before, but we're changing
Oh,
that now. That changes now. Grant is now a TVC co-host. And we've done many an episode. We've done our complete April wine deep dive series. Yeah, always a lot of fun. So Grant, thanks for sitting in on this episode of Tim's Vinyl Confessions.
hey, this is great. This is a great topic, and we will see what we can come up with. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, it's going to be pretty wild because, well, Tim, you take it away. You introduce everything. It's hard. Tim, it's always hard for me not to host. So you have to say,
Yep.
Grant, will you
Yep.
calm down?
I got this one. Oh, Grant normally sets things up, but I'll take care of it. This episode, I've done a couple of episodes in the past talking about favorite yacht rock songs. We even had a Contrarians panel where we talked about favorite yacht rock. And I don't know about your area of the globe, Grant, but we had a completely green Christmas here. We didn't have any snow
It
whatsoever.
was green.
But now, after that, it's gotten really cold and we've got snow. So it's kind of miserable.
We
And
had we had snow New Year's Day.
yeah,
No snow now. It's gone,
yeah,
but we did have it New Year's Day.
yeah, we've had a very, very strange. We had two really heavy rainstorms, and the week before Christmas, it knocked our power out for 2 days, and we had like
Oh,
hurricane force
oh my
winds, and
God.
it was wild. I'm just glad it was the week before Christmas and not on Christmas when we're trying to do the visiting stuff. But
Right.
my point is, it's kind of miserable out there. It's cold. It's you know sometimes it's colder without snow in the wintertime. And when I want to get in a summery kind of mood, I listen to yacht rock, whatever we define yacht rock as. So I thought Grant would be a good person to have on here because we've talked about yacht rock before. He does these really cool afternoon. I don't know what you want to call them. You just play some music
Oh,
and
listening parties like every
listening
Sunday at
parties. Yeah, and
7 p.m.
you've done yacht rock listening parties.
Yeah,
So I'm like,
I
yeah,
have.
Grant knows this yacht rock, and it's a nebulous term, right? Like you ask, there are certain artists, that you talk about. They'll say, well, that's yacht rock, and I'm talking
Mhm.
about like Firefall and Ambrosia and
Well,
Michael McDonald, people like that. But then there's others that are kind of that song is, that song isn't. So my idea was, since it's not really summer, well then let's talk about music that's not really yacht rock, but yet could pass for yacht rock. My feeling was, if you were driving somewhere, an area you've never been to before, and you're scanning the radio dial looking for a station that comes in, and you hear a DJ come on and say, all right, in the next hour, you can expect to hear, and they list a bunch of rock bands, and you think, okay, this must be a classic rock station. But then, no, you start listening and you realize this is a yacht rock station. It's just that they're playing yacht rock ish type songs by artists that aren't normally known for doing yacht rock. And I thought,
mhm.
I got to see what Grant's going to come up with. I think we've got a fun list. And I think we've got songs that you could easily slip into a yacht rock listening party,
Yeah.
and nobody would go, huh? That doesn't work. So yeah, Grant, I'll let you take it from
Yeah.
here. Like, I think we've got like a top 10 or so. I didn't really number them, but we've also got a few honorables. What have you got
I
by
did
way of like?
not I did not number anything.
No,
I
me
just
neither.
listed some things. I was trying to get some more obscure things. Now, when I had the Yacht Rock listening party, I don't know a couple months ago or whatever,
Yeah,
none of these songs were on it, though they could have been. But
right.
when you gave me the topic of what we're going to do, I thought, well, man, let's deep dive into this. Now, the whole genre of yacht rock is very vast.
Yeah.
You go on to Sirius XM, which this is where it all originated.
Yes.
They've got the regular yacht rock station and they've got the more obscure yacht rock station. Now, when you listen to the obscure yacht rock station, I'm listening to, I don't know, Tim, if you have Sirius or not, but
We
when you
have had
look,
it in the past.
okay, but they've got that obscure station and
That
you
sounds
listen to
really
that.
interesting.
Oh, it's like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like the commercials, it's the same old thing. Michael McDonald, Ambrosia, how much I feel, the same shit over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But on the one that's like Yacht Rock 2, it's like things going, I'm listening to it going, they'll play like a song from America that I'm sitting there going,
Never heard it before.
never
Yeah.
heard it before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I've heard,
this is
yeah,
kind of how I approach my list.
that's awesome. That's
So
awesome. I
God,
think we've got
I hope it,
similar.
I
There's
just
no wrong
hope
way to
it's
do
in
this.
that genre.
There's no wrong way to do this because I mean,
Okay.
let's face it, we have a lot of fun with this. But yacht rock is a made up term.
Hmm.
It's a retroactive term. Nobody called this stuff yacht rock in the turn of the late '70s, early '80s. They called it soft rock,
Right.
and but it does evoke a mood. It makes me feel like it's summertime, and so these songs all fit that category.
Yeah.
Um, start us off with something. Start us off with something. I'm
Okay.
curious to hear what you've come up with.
Okay. Well, this is a record that I bought back in 1986. I was really intrigued by it. I don't know where I read about it. I know, okay, this is the background. This is a record that was produced by Gary Katz, and Donald Fagen and Walter Becker play on it.
I think I know what you're gonna.
Okay, 1986.
Yeah,
She was a model. She was married to Jeff Lynne. We're talking Rosie Vila, and the track that I'm picking out is Magic Smile from Zazu in 1986. I've done research. I went all over the internet looking for things just to back up. I'm going, what songs come to mind that would trigger a yacht rock type of experience for me? Well, this whole album by Rosie Vila in 86, Zazu, is yacht rock. The
yeah,
whole thing. But no one talks about it. It's like a forgotten record.
yeah,
And it's the only record she put out. It's a great record. I mean, for God's sakes, it's Gary Katz and Steely Dan on it.
yeah.
And you've
It's
got
going to have
like
that smooth. It's bound to
Steve
have that smooth
Porcaro.
yacht rock. Yeah,
It's those musicians.
yeah.
No one
It, it,
talks
it-
about it, but it's
and
great.
it's '86 too, Grant. So
Yeah.
that's late. That's late arriving yacht rock. I mean,
Hmm.
it generally around '82, '83 is when it kind of peters out. But
This
you're
is
right. I
86.
I, I do remember. Yeah, I do. I was sitting in my living room on YouTube, and I was on your yacht rock listening party, and that song came on. I'd heard of the
Oh,
record.
that's right. I did play it.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there going, because I'm trying to figure out what it is before I look at the screen, and I'm like, this sounds very familiar, but I can't place it. And I looked, I'm like, I was getting Steely Dan vibes, and
Mhm.
that's why. So excellent start.
But it's totally forgotten.
Yeah,
Tim, it's totally forgotten. When you look at lists,
yeah,
Yacht Rocks, no one mentions it. And it's a great record, but it's forgotten by time.
yeah.
So
Cool.
I'm start off with that.
Right on. Okay, so I've got 4 honorable mentions before I get into the main 10. And in each of these cases, some of these are kind of the weaker ones, Grant, but I think people can go, yeah, I hear what he's getting at. No one would ever call Nazareth a yacht rock band,
No.
but 1980, Malice in Wonderland, the song Holiday. Now that song is yacht rock.
Mhm.
It sounds tropical. It sounds like it could be a Jimmy Buffett song. It doesn't sound like Hair of the Dog or Razamanaz. It's total yacht rock, especially the studio version. Live, it's
Mhm.
rocked up a little bit, but the studio version, you can easily slide that in on a yacht rock station, and nobody would bat an eye. They'd be like, vocals aren't normally as smooth as most
Mhm.
yacht rock songs, but musically, I think it's
Mhm.
right there. Next couple are more literal, like lyrical content. They're not really that sort of smooth, soft
Well,
rock sound. But from the debut Bad Company album, I picked the song Seagull,
yeah, that
which is
fits.
just Paul Rogers and acoustic guitar, and it's Seagull. You picture being by the beach and hoping a seagull doesn't crap on your head. But yeah. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that because it's tenuous, right? Bad Company you wouldn't think of as yacht rock, but that song would almost
It
fit the
fits.
bill.
It
Yeah.
fits.
In the same vein, as a matter of fact, we're still talking about Swan Song Records. I went with Led Zeppelin, Down by
Whoa.
the Seaside, Physical
My,
Graffiti. Now,
my
that's
goodness.
this song again. It makes me think that you're by the beach. right?
Mhm.
So it's not necessarily that smooth yacht rock sound, but lyrically it kind of fits. And plus, tangentially, it kind of there's a lot of moving parts in the yacht rock world, a lot of same names you see pop up.
Mhm.
Um, they have said that full on Robert Plant said that's a full on tribute to Neil Young. Now Neil Young isn't a yacht rock artist per se, but Crosby, Stills, and Nash sure are some of their songs. So
Mm.
that's how I thought I'd put that one in there. And finally, a band I always love to brag and talk about, the band I named my channel after, Kansas, from the album Monolith, 1979. Now, just because a song is acoustic does not make it yacht rock. Dust in the Wind is not yacht rock. It's too serious. It's too dour. It's
Mhm.
too contemplative. It's not yacht rock. However, the last song on this album is another acoustic song called Reason to Be. Now, it was a single, but it wasn't a big, I think it only got to like number 52. It's a nice, mellow album closer. And I think that song could easily fit in your yacht rock playlist and people wouldn't be shaken up. It's not like it would be really loud or anything. I think that would be a good one. So those are my honorable mentions.
That's
Your
hey.
thoughts?
My thoughts are you've pulled those out, and they would never popped into my head ever.
I was going
Wow,
by
but
stuff that was in my collection and rock
mhm.
bands that don't have, they don't get the yacht rock play. But I thought, I bet you they've got some of these bands have songs that could almost make it. So
Well,
the
you mentioned Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Now, I don't think that early period, by any means, let's say the first album and Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young, there's no yacht rock.
yeah,
But by
Ohio is
the
not a
time,
yacht rock song.
no, but by the time they regrouped, the
Mhm.
CSN album where they're on the yacht, for God's
Oh,
sakes.
just a song before I go.
I've got that listed on my list
Yeah,
because
I've heard
that's,
Southern Cross, Wasted on the Way. That's totally yacht rock.
but it's one of those songs that no one really mentions. They
Yeah,
mention the album cover, but some people don't get it. It's more than just them sitting on the yacht. It's
yeah.
about the songs and the way it sounds.
It's
But
the
think,
harmonies and the yeah,
but just the song Before I Go fully encapsulates that whole feeling, that whole, I don't want to say just California, but listen, you could imagine yourself cruising on the damn boat listening to that song.
yeah. Oh yeah, these songs they take you. They take you. You're on the boat. You're
Hmm.
by the beach. You're yeah. That's the best of the yacht rock stuff. Takes you somewhere else. It takes
Right.
you out of the cold winter. It takes you into the summer. You're on vacation. You know what I mean? No deadlines. It's like just smooth.
I think
Yeah,
that's a perfect example. A lot of people, though, but this is what tells you about this genre, is that some people think it needs to be real slick. So we're talking like Lido by Boz Scaggs,
yeah,
which I think
mhm,
is a great example.
yeah,
That's definitely fits in that genre. Or maybe Steely Dan, FM. But some
yeah,
people really are adamant that no, Steely Dan's not yacht rock. But you cannot deny they play that all the time on the yacht
yeah.
rock channels.
I've heard Peg, I've heard Hey 19, I've heard uh you not so much like you said the earlier stuff, like not so much reeling in the years, but
No,
when you get to the Asia album
Asia.
and the Gaucho, like that stuff, and even Donald Fagen, like
Uh,
what is it called?
his first
What a
solo
beautiful
record.
world. Yeah, that's totally yacht
Right.
rock. And you got the
Hmm.
Toto guys on there, and yeah, so yeah, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, totally. Maybe not every song, but they
No.
they they participated, even though they didn't know they were participating. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, so let's have another one. Let's have another one from you, Grant.
I'm gonna go with something that was mentioned. I did a listening party on New Year's Eve where we played 1 hour Todd Rundgren and we played another hour of just various stuff. And I played Compassion by Todd Rundgren that came off the Healing album 1981. And someone in the chat said, "Oh my God, that really sounds like yacht rock." And I knew, Tim, we were going to do this episode, and I went,
Yeah,
well, I better write that down because the listeners are going, "My God, that sounds like yacht rock." but I think there's a better example. I mean, Todd is not yacht rock at all, but there,
No, but I've heard Hello, It's Me. I've heard Why Can't We Be Friends?
well,
Um,
I was going to mention Why Can't We Be
yeah, I've
Friends?
heard that on yacht rock stations.
I have
Yeah,
not. And I
yeah,
thought, well, Compassion would work. We could put that in there because it's got tendencies of this genre. But
exactly.
can we still be friends? I mean, it's about relationships. Yacht rock is about relationships.
A lot of them are stories. A lot of them are story
Yes,
songs.
this
Yeah,
is a story song.
yeah, yeah,
So it totally fits. Compassion's not really like that, but it has elements
yeah.
of this
And
genre.
sometimes all it needs is musically to put you
Yeah.
in that space too. Yeah,
But yeah,
good
that's what I was
choice.
going to pick.
Yeah,
Can we still be friends? I have not heard it on the Yacht
no,
Rock
I
station, but
have.
it totally fits.
Yeah. So the next one is a band that you people would go, what? There's not one yacht rock song in this band's catalog. Yes, there is. And I'm talking about Van Halen.
Oh, for God's sakes. What?
1980. Could this be magic? Out upon the island on a cool summer night. It's just an acoustic uh,
Yeah.
sing along song. You picture the four of them on the beach. And it's even got additional, what you might call yacht rock cred, because in the chorus, there are
Mhm.
backing vocals from Nicolette Larson. So it's Ted Templeman producing. So he's not using his normal Van Halen recording techniques on this song. He's probably using his Doobie Brothers techniques on this song. I
Mhm.
think Could This Be Magic is total yacht rock and could easily fit in. There's nothing loud, there's no electric solo. This album has some of the heaviest Van Halen songs like Loss of Control and
Yeah.
Everybody Wants Them. But right in the middle of it, this band never gets the credit for how versatile they are. They throw in this little lush little acoustic piece, Could This Be Magic? So I think that's total yacht rock from Van Halen.
Oh my God. You know what we're going to do, Tim, is just keep segueing into this because you
Yes,
mentioned Nicolette Larson. Okay. Now I'm going out on a limb here. Now, of course, you know that Nicolette Larson did "Lot of Love," which is
which
Neil's
is
Young
a
song.
Neil Young song. I've heard that on yacht rock station too.
But what about Neil Young's version?
Now,
Why?
honestly, I haven't heard his version of it.
Well, it's not quite to the level of Nicolette Larson, but you mentioned Ted Templeman. Someone in the chat, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I am pretty sure that Ted Templeman produced that first Nicolette Larson album.
He did. He totally
Okay,
did because
okay.
Eddie Van Halen actually, uncredited, actually plays on that first album.
Oh my
And
God,
Nicolette
okay.
Larson, here's a bit of trivia for you. Nicolette Larson sang when Eddie and Valerie got married in
I
1981,
didn't know that.
82.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to throw out, okay, if you've heard the Nicolette Larson version, everybody, well, I don't know what
It was a
people,
big hit. It
it's
was
a
a
big
really
hit.
big. From if you're a certain age, you've heard it.
Go check out Neil Young's version. I'm pretty sure Nicolette's singing on the backgrounds, but it's such a great song. But no one would ever pigeon Neil Young as a yacht
No,
rock
he doesn't
artist.
exactly have that smooth voice, but
Well,
he can write.
but I think it translates well. This is why I think Nicolette picked up on this song because it really is a great track. Even though I don't think Neil, but hey, you're talking Van Halen. I can bring up Neil Young. So I,
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're listening to the radio, they're like, coming up, we got Neil Young, we got Van Halen, we got Nazareth. You're like, this is not yacht rock. Yes, it
no,
is. But
there
the
are
station could be.
there are elements here.
Yeah.
Even though I think, you know, what Nicolette Larson did with the track, even though I don't know how much she had to do with it. Uh, but Ted Templeman and Nicolette, what they produce is really yacht rock, I would
Oh,
say.
yeah.
But
Yeah. It's totally yacht rock if it's some 78, 79.
right.
So my next one's another band you'd never associate with this genre. And this is more of the lyrical content. And again, it's very much a story song. People are going to laugh when I hold this album cover up.
Oh my
From
God. Tim,
1976,
you're way out there. You are
Rock and
way
Roll
out
Over.
there.
I'm talking about Hard Luck Woman,
God.
which is a song written by Paul Stanley, sung by Peter Criss. Now, Paul Stanley said he wrote the song with Rod Stewart in
Mhm.
mind. because it kind of has that Maggie May. You wear it well. It's got the beautiful 12-string guitar. But lyrically, he was inspired by, I think, one of the best yacht rock songs, and that is Brandy, You're a Fine Girl by Looking Glass. That's a very literal yacht rock song. It's not soft rock, but I mean,
No.
lyrically, it couldn't be more yacht rock. So Hard Luck Woman lyrically is basically the sailor's only daughter. It's very much inspired by Brandy. So I thought, yeah, let's bring Hard Luck Woman by Kiss into this yacht rock mix. So just so people could lose their minds.
Wow. People are just gonna lose their
Yeah.
proverbial, you know. I would never have thought that, Tim, but hey, whatever. We're having a discussion. It's all good with me.
Yeah.
That I can't, well, I guess it could be how you look at it. All right, well, let me throw one out. I'm gonna throw out oh my God. Okay, we're talking, I think what are we talking? We're talking 1979. We're talking about a member that was in the Kingston Trio. Okay.
Yes. Yes. I know
Now,
exactly.
you wouldn't think that someone that was in the Kingston Trio would be yacht rock oriented, but I'm going to go with John Stewart Gold. Uh,
Absolutely.
Big single back in the day. They
Yeah.
played the heck out of it. It's got both Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham on it.
Yeah.
Um,
Plain as day, I might add. You can hear
Plain
Stevie.
as day, big
Yeah.
hit. It got up to what?
Number
Well,
five, I think it was a big uh yeah, I think it was number
yeah,
five. It was
it
a
got
big
number
comeback.
five
Now
on the charts.
his voice doesn't sound yacht rock on this song, but musically, it's
Musically, it
right
does.
there. It's
Yeah.
right there, and then you've got the backing vocals. You've got Lindsay's guitar. Yeah, that's not what anybody ever talks about, but that's a perfect example.
And that's exactly what my whole goal was here, Tim, is just to
Yeah,
throw out some of these tracks that these are overlooked, but yes,
yeah,
they fit in with this genre.
yeah.
So I'm throwing that out.
That's a
I
good one. Yeah,
think it's great.
Gold by John Stewart.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to throw one out. Another band, just by name, you're going to be like, huh? From this from this naughty little album cover here, which I'll put my finger
Really?
over, from 1979. The third album, it depends on where you get it. Some people call it the second, but Whitesnake from the album Love Hunter, and a
Mhm.
song called Outlaw. Now, what this is a very, very obscure song. You've got to have a deep knowledge of the catalog to know this, but Outlaw is one of the songs. There's a few of them in the early years of Whitesnake that late guitarist Bernie Marsden sang. So he didn't sound anything like David Coverdale whatsoever. This song almost could pass as an Eagles tune. It's very laid back. It's outlaw, born outside of the law. It fits right in with that whole, if I could make it to the border, ride like the wind. It's the running from the law song, but it's very smooth. And you could put this song on, and not only would nobody know that it wasn't yacht rock per se, nobody would ever know it was Whitesnake unless they knew this album inside out, because it doesn't have David Coverdale on vocals. It's got Bernie Marsden on vocals. He has a very smooth voice.
Mhm.
So I would recommend anybody say Whitesnake. Yeah, Whitesnake Outlaw. Look it up. You'd never know in a million years it was a
All
Whitesnake song.
right.
It could totally fit on a yacht rock station.
That might be the
Deep,
best choice yet.
deep cuts. Deep cuts.
Deep. Well, my next one is not as deep, but it is Fleetwood Mac related. So
Mm-hmm.
we've
Oh,
had John Stewart Gold. You have Lindsay and Stevie on it.
yeah.
Well, we've got yet another song that I believe has Lindsay and Stevie on it, and Christine McVie, for God's, I think. Let me double check. I know
Is this by a former member of Fleetwood Mac?
it is. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go Sentimental Lady by Bob Welch
Yeah. Which started out life as a Fleetwood Mac song because it's
on
on
Bear
the album
Trees.
Bare Trees. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bob Welch was the guitarist and singer that interim period. So he wasn't with the Peter Green, like the blues period, and then he
Hmm.
wasn't with the Buckingham Nicks period. It was very much adjoining, like an in between sound. Bob, I mean, he's sadly passed away, but one of my favorite songs from that era is Hypnotized. That's a
Hypnotized. I
fantastic song.
think you could probably put Hypnotized
Uh,
here too.
yes, it totally fits. It's smooth. It's laid back. It's got, yeah. But
In
yeah,
fact,
Sentimental Lady, Bob redid it in '77, I think. And
yeah.
yeah, you can hear Christine plain as day on the chorus.
But it's
Good
just
choice.
funny because Bob leaves the band, but
Yeah.
still Lindsay and Stevie help out, and Christine, even though he's not in the band, they're still helping him out. I just think I don't know. I just surprised by it. I think it's great though. Oh, okay. So let me clarify that. I don't think there's any Stevie on here, but it's Lindsay and Christine McVie.
Yeah. So Christine would have been in the band at when he was,
Right.
because she was in the band from like '70 on.
Right.
So yeah, so all of those albums, there's so many like Bare Trees and Penguin and Mystery to Me and Heroes Are Hard to Find. Those are all those, Bob kept them going, right?
He did.
Until the self-titled in '75. So yeah, yeah, I think it's cool. There's actually I found this on YouTube and I don't know what led me to look for it, but there's a version of Hypnotized that Bob's doing in 1981 at the Roxy, and he's got John McVie, and I'm trying to think of who all was on stage with him, but it's
Uh-huh.
really cool. Like he's got a lot of the Fleetwood Mac people up on stage with him, doing Hypnotized. But yeah, Sentimental Lady, great choice.
I thought I'd bring it up because a lot of people, what's the other track? Ebony Eyes, I think. A lot of people bring that track up,
Yeah, Ebony Eyes, yeah.
but
Um,
I think this is much more
Ebony
within
Eyes
that
is more of a
pocket, you
yeah.
know?
Ebony Eyes is more, dare I say, a rocker.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sentimental Lady, whether either version, like the Fleetwood Mac original or the Bob Welsh, is the version that was the hit.
Right.
So yeah, good choice. Good
Yeah.
choice. All right. So I've got one. I've talked about this many, many times. And again, not an artist you would at all associate with yacht rock, but not only do I think this artist has a few songs that cross over into yacht rock, I think this artist did a whole yacht rock album. 1978, Alice Cooper, From the Inside.
Wow.
This album was produced. This was Alice's Get Out of Rehab album,
Mhm.
um, produced by David Foster. So that's a yacht rock ish type of sound. The lyrics were written with Bernie Taupin, for crying out loud. And
There's
he's
two
got,
things that both good. It's making sense, Tim. It's making
yeah,
sense.
and you've got all kinds of Toto people on here. You got Steve Lukather
Oh, there you
on
go.
a lot of the songs here, even co-writing some of the songs. You've got Bobby Kimball on background vocals. But the song I'm going to pick was the hit off of this album. I think it was a number 12 single. Alice did a lot of ballads from the mid to late '70s, and the albums they came from weren't hits, but the singles were. And the song is "How You Gonna See Me Now." I think that song is yacht rock. It's kind of a story.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, like for all the reasons I just said, with the production and the tons of background musicians on here. Um, yeah, this is Alice's yacht rock album, even though it's this concept album about him being in this asylum. Musically, there are so many songs on here, like "The Quiet Room,"
Hmm.
and even the title song "From the Inside" is a rocker, but it's not
Hmm.
really. Yeah, there you go. Alice Cooper, how are you going to see me now?
Tim, I can't compete with you. You are pulling stuff so deep from the archives that I can't even compete. All right. Well, I'm gonna go with something that another song that I think is definitely yacht rock that I don't think they mention. Maybe they mention it on the Deep Yacht Rock station, but I'm gonna go with a member that was in the band Spirit. I'm gonna go with Jay Ferguson, Thunder Island.
Oh, I love
Tell
that
the
song.
story. Oh, I love that, and I love
That's a great
Shakedown
song.
Cruise. Both of them.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, Tim, I couldn't get enough of Thunder Island and
Yeah.
Shakedown
Thunder
Cruise.
Island is, and
But
Thunder Island has a further yacht rock tie-in because it's got Joe Walsh on
yeah,
slide guitar. Um, but the funniest footnote to me, and I have to say this, I can't not say it. Jay Ferguson went on to um, write music for TV. He
mhm.
wrote the theme to The Office. That's
I
Jay
didn't realize
Ferguson's.
that. Oh, I didn't know that.
That was written by Jay Ferguson, the same
Love
Jay
Jay.
Ferguson. And another thing that makes it yacht rock, look at his album covers.
Well, if
Lots
you
of
look at
open
the
shirt, lots of chest
45,
hair, lots, mustaches. Very, very much. Yeah, good. Thunder Island. Great, 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 great song.
yeah, if you look at the 45, it's just him sitting there with his shirt open in
Oh
front of
yeah,
his exotic plants, for God's sake. He's down in the islands
yeah,
looking cool.
yeah, yeah. I have heard that on. I'm pretty sure I've heard that on the regular Yacht Rock station, but not enough. It's a great song, and more people need to hear it.
Yeah, I think it's great. Now,
It's
I don't know if Shakedown Cruise is, I don't think I would put that in that same, that came out later. And I don't think I'd put that quite in the same, you know, category as Thunder Island. I think Thunder Island, Thunder Island, we're out on the boat. Think about it.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Perfectly fits.
yeah.
So,
Totally fits.
yeah.
So the next one is follows very much in the same vein as the Alice Cooper song, based on well, you'll see. Not a band that you think would ever make yacht rock, but Cheap Trick.
Okay. All right, Tim. Now, okay.
1979 Dream Police album. The song is Voices. Was
Don't
a
know
top
about
40
that.
single. So here's why. Here's my yacht rock link.
Okay.
Steve Lukather is on this song playing acoustic guitar.
I
And
thought he was playing this solo on it.
Oh, maybe he did play the solo. He said in his biography, he said, Rick Nielsen's a great guitar player. I don't know. They didn't need me, but they asked me to do it. So is it yacht rock per se? Probably more yacht rock than most of Cheap Trick's stuff. It's a great ballad, and it's kind of laid back. And again, it's got a Toto guy on it. So I'm shoehorning Voices in there. Might not be
Okay.
one of the best ones to hit the mark, but I'm putting it in there.
All right. My next one is a little bit more obscure. What if you, let me throw this out to you and see if you pick up what I'm trying to, because you're good at this, Tim. You put David Foster as a producer of a funk band.
You know what? Was okay. Is this a ballad?
No.
Okay. I was going to say, was it
David
co-written by
Foster,
somebody
go
from?
ahead.
Was it co-written by somebody in Chicago?
No, but we're going to get to Chicago.
Okay, because
But we're
I'll tell
talking
you
a
what I
funk
thought.
band. We're talking funk band. We're talking 1980. We're talking smooth. We're talking, this is a track. This never got put out on CD. It might be on a comp.
Oh, okay. So it's not at all what I was thinking then.
This is more obscure. Smooth horns, but this is a funk band, but there's no funk here. No funk. Lots of falsetto vocals. It came out in 1980. David
It's still
Foster.
sounding like the song that I'm thinking of, but the
Go
fact
ahead.
that it's not on CD, it's like that can't be right.
Go ahead. Give me something.
Okay, What it made me think of, based on your description, was "After the Love Is Gone" by Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Well, you're kind of close, but no cigar. I'm going
Okay,
to go
because that was
Average
produced, I
White
think, was
Band. The song Shine. That's off the
okay. I'm
same
not
album.
familiar with it. I know who the Average White Band is, but I'm not familiar with that song. Okay,
It probably went right to the cutout bins. It didn't sell, never got a CD release. But oh my God, David Foster produced this, and you're thinking Average White Band, cut the cake. No,
da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Yeah, yeah.
Tim, it doesn't sound anything like that at all. It's very smooth. It's more like Boz Scaggs than
Okay.
Average White Band. David Foster, and that will come up with my next choice too. There's kind of a theme here,
Yeah, yeah. Cool.
but
Okay.
no one mentions this track because, well, it's forgotten. But
So
my God, we're talking yacht rock.
I'm
Totally.
just guessing. I'm just guessing based on, because I'm not overly familiar with Average White Band. Is the reason that it's not on CD? Was it on a different label than most of their other stuff, or it just wasn't
didn't
a
sell.
big sell? Wow.
No.
You'd think in this day and age that, like, because most things get reissued eventually,
Right.
but okay.
Not everything. But
Well,
if you listen to it, but seriously, Tim, if you listen to this on paper for 1980, this should have been a big hit. But you never know. None of this makes sense.
you never know. You just
never
might
know.
not have got the push. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of this is a band that we both like and we've talked a lot about. and they have a few stray songs that have never been on CD.
Hmm.
Now, usually, yacht rock artists tend to be American. They tend to be West Coast American.
Mm-hmm.
How about East Coast Canadian? The one and only April Wine.
I knew that's what you were going to pull out.
I'm on Fire for You, Baby is total yacht rock. Now, not so much the live version, but this is where it first appeared on their live album, 74.
Mm-hmm.
But the studio version, it's totally yacht rock. It's really mellow. It could easily fit in on a yacht rock station. Trying to think, it wasn't written by anybody in the band. I think it was written by somebody named David Elliott, but it was presented to the band. They recorded it. It got a lot of airplay. It eventually appeared on their Greatest Hits album, and I think it's totally yacht rock. There are only a handful of Canadian artists that I've ever heard on yacht rock stations. Gino Vanelli, I Just Want to Stop. Mark Jordan, Living in Marina Del Rey. I've even heard Anne Murray's Shadows in the Moonlight. I know
Really?
that one was like, really? Not a lot of Canadian yacht rockers. It's too cold. Now, that having said that, we have some really nice summers, especially if you're on the, in Vancouver on the West Coast. But anyway, April Wine, that's my next choice.
Wow. I didn't see that coming, but when you mentioned that,
You
we've
think about it. There's
talked a
nothing.
lot
There's
about. Yeah,
nothing
you're
heavy.
right.
There's nothing hard rocking. It's just
That
a
fits.
smooth, totally fits.
All right, I'm going to go with a band that you might not think would be yacht rock, but we've got someone produced. This band is produced by David Foster, for God's sakes. And for some reason, even though you can listen to the Tubes and David Foster produced that, he
Yeah.
didn't quite the same, you know, uh impression that this band did. This band, David Foster, when he got a hold of this band, he totally switched them up and reinvented them to some degree. I'm talking Chicago from Chicago
Oh, yeah.
16, the track Sunny, Think Twice.
I don't know that one.
Yacht rock. Oh my God. I mean, it's every bit as yacht rock as Average White Band when David Foster got a hold of them. And you wouldn't think it's Chicago. Think about Chicago in 1971, 1972. But this is
25 or 6 to 4 is not yacht rock.
no, but this, you think about those singles that came off of Chicago 16, Chicago 17.
Yeah.
This not quite in the same ballpark. This is just total yacht rock. And I have to contribute that to David Foster and Steve Lukather and Steve Porcaro. This is an ongoing theme, Tim.
Oh, yeah.
You've got Lukather, you've got Porcaro. It's the same player.
You're bound to have a couple Toto guys show up somewhere, right?
Bill Champlin. I'm just saying.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was thinking Earth, Wind, and Fire earlier, because Bill Champlin co-wrote that song, that After the Love Is Gone. Yeah. That's yacht rock, but you wouldn't think of Earth, Wind, and Fire as yacht rock.
But this track, they don't really play this, and they probably should if they're listening to this damn show. But this is totally yacht rock.
They all hate each other now anyway, so what does it matter?
It doesn't matter. Does it matter? No.
It's funny because once you get past 1982, it's almost, with some exceptions, like you mentioned the Rosie Bella album, but the production almost got to a point where it wasn't smooth enough anymore. You know what I mean? Like once synthesizers and electronic drums and just the popular music tropes of the day, nothing sounded quite smooth enough for yacht rock. Nobody used the term soft rock anymore once you get to 83, 84. Like there are some songs that I've heard played with yacht rock mix, like Billy Ocean, Caribbean Queen. I don't know if you'd call that yacht rock. It's a great song, but that would have to be. And really,
I would say
1986, I think, is probably the cutoff point, because 1986 you've got things like Michael McDonald's "Sweet Freedom" that still
counts.
Feels
that
like
counts.
Yacht rock. Yeah. Toto, "I'll Be Over You." That's a yacht rock song, And even they were a one-hit wonder, but boy, it was a good one. The band, I think they were Swiss. The band Double. They had the Captain of Her Heart.
That's like 84, I think.
Well, it became a hit in 86. It might
or
have
86. No, you're right. It was 86.
Yeah. but that's totally yacht rock. That sounds like, I've always thought that song sounds like it's like late at night and you're on the beach and you can hear the
Mhm.
water just very smooth. So after 1986, you're really not getting that anymore. And going back to the Chicago thing, yes, David Foster transformed that band and they had all these hit singles, but Hard Habit to Break is not yacht rock. You're the
No,
Inspiration is not yacht rock, you
no.
know. But I got to listen to this song from the 16 album.
Check that. It is.
Yeah,
It fits. It fits. But the thing is about that Rosie Vila album. Now, I think maybe really die-hard Steely Dan fans know what that record is.
I
Most
would think
people
so.
don't.
Yeah,
But if you like Asia and if you like Gaucho, you like that era, this picks up right from where those left off. I
I'm
swear to
surprised
God,
that
everyone should check out the Rosie Vila album because it's a Steely Dan album without Steely Dan singing.
I'm surprised that that didn't get more tracks because there was like Steely Dan fans were what they went what uh how many years in between Steely Dan albums? I mean, you'd think that.
That's like 6 years or so.
Well,
But
I
you had a
mean, yeah, no, but I
You
mean
had
like
Donald
actual Steely
Fagen.
Dan albums, right? So maybe if the
Gaucho's
internet
what?
had been a thing, there'd been more awareness that,
Oh,
oh, they're doing
yeah.
something. Let's check it out. But
I knew about it from reading Rolling Stone. That's how and I was into back then, Tim. I was big into Steely Dan. I couldn't get enough of it. Okay. And then once I learned that she was doing a record and it was Gary Katz and
yeah,
Walter Becker, and I'm like, all right, let's
who's
get it. And it's great. And it
who's the band?
didn't do anything.
Who's the band? I know you'll know who. We're off on a tangent here now,
We do
but
tangents.
what's the band that I think Walter Becker produced around that time? I think they were British. Oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue. They I can't even think of any of the song titles, but I know I think it was Walter Becker produced an album by this group, and they were European at least, and they were like a not big country, but somewhere in.
Um,
Oh, geez, I was hoping you'd pick right up on it, so I wouldn't have to struggle like this.
I'm
But
looking. Uh, no.
oh,
I mean, he produced a Ricky Lee Jones, but that's not it.
I'm thinking of I'm think when I'm trying to roll the decks in my head, I'm thinking of people like David. What was his name? David
David
Sylvian.
Sanborn?
No,
I
not
don't know.
David Sand. Oh, China Crisis.
Oh, China Crisis.
That's,
Yes, he
that's
produced
who I was
China
trying to think
Crisis.
of.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Whew. All right. Let's right the ship here, so to speak, our yacht rock ship. Okay, so I got thinking about this. There's two songs by this band I thought of,
Mhm.
but I think I picked the more yacht rock of the two. Of course, it's a band that dabbled in just about every genre, but not necessarily yacht rock. But I think there's one song tucked away on one of my favorite albums. Um, comes from this album,
Oh my God.
1978, Queen, the album Jazz, and the
Mhm.
song is In Only 7 Days. This is a piano-based song written by John Deacon. John Deacon could always be counted on to come up with something nice and mellow. He wrote "You're My
Yep.
Best Friend."
Mhm.
He wrote "I Want to Break Free." But "In Only 7 Days" could totally be a yacht rock song. It's a story, tells a little relationship story, uh, kind of the guy's on vacation, meets someone, uh, goes like that. Very smooth and it doesn't have any like the Brian May guitar overdriven
Mm.
sound. There's hardly any guitar on it. There's a little acoustic guitar. Freddie sings very, very, straight ahead, no hit vocal histrionics, totally yacht rock. Queen in Only 7 Days. I was thinking about the song Seaside Rendezvous from A Night at the Opera, but that's just a little bit too vaudeville.
Yeah.
Lyrically, it's fine, but it's a little bit too chipper for yacht rock. But in Only 7 Days, totally fits.
I think though. I think so. I think you're right. Hey, you're pulling stuff out that I would never even ever think of.
That's the idea. I've been wanting to do this for that
See, and
very
I
reason.
talk about my picks and they just seem so benign, but okay.
No, you're digging deeper because you're coming up with
Well,
artists I've barely heard of.
I don't know. This artist that I'm going to pick, everyone's heard of, but you might not think that they're in that yacht rock vein.
That's the whole idea.
But there's some of her work, though, she did with Jaco Pastorius and some various
Oh, yeah,
jazz people.
yeah.
But I'm
Another
talking
Canadian.
another Canadian. I'm
Yeah,
talking Joni Mitchell, and the track that
yep,
I'm talking about is Help Me, which was a
yep,
big hit. That was probably
yep,
her biggest hit. But if you think about it, it fits right in there in that whole yacht rock genre.
yep. It totally does. Yeah,
Production,
I got
lyric,
it in my head. It totally does.
fits right in. Um, you know, I would never really have thought about it, but I don't know. Do you ever really hear them play that song on any yacht rock oriented stations at all?
No, you never hear Joni Mitchell.
Because no one thinks of her that way.
They think of her as a folk artist, right?
Folk artist,
Yeah,
or at least in their later years, more of a jazz artist.
yeah,
Here we're talking, well, it's kind of jazz pop. I mean, it's kind of in that middle period. This is after Blue, which I think is absolutely a perfect record. This is a great record too. This is probably her biggest selling record. But if you listen to this record or this track, 1975, it fits
yeah,
perfectly within that whole yacht rock vein. Fits
yeah,
right in. You wouldn't think twice about it.
yeah,
But I don't think people have that on their minds when
yeah.
they think of Joni Mitchell.
It hits all the right marks.
It's
It's
all the
yeah.
right marks.
Well, I'm going to keep it Canadian, and there's going to be a few other names I'm going to throw out here. The CD doesn't have any credits in it, but the record does. I am going to throw out another Canadian, and no one would ever think of this guy as a yacht rocker. But way back in 1980, when he put his first album out, Bryan Adams.
Yeah.
There's a song on this first album of his called State of Mind. Total yacht rock. Bryan Adams and Jim Vallance have both said they wrote it with Hold the Line in mind. Now, it's not as heavy as Hold the Line, which is
Mm-hmm.
funny to say, but it's not as guitar driven, but it's totally yacht rock. And it even goes further because it's one of those, you see like uh, musicians listed on an album, but it doesn't say what specific tracks they play on.
Right.
I'm not sure who played bass on this, but I do know that at least one of the songs is David Hungate, who was the original Toto bass player, and he was also a big session guy. He was on the first
Yeah.
four Toto albums, and then he became a session guy. And I think he's done a bunch of Nashville stuff. Um, Oddly enough, another bass player listed on here is Jim Clench.
Of
But
course.
yeah, but Jeff Baxter is listed as guesting on guitar. But yeah, State of Mind from the first Bryan Adams album is complete and totally yacht rock. And my wife would tell you it's Baby Brian because on his first two albums he sounds like he's about 12.
What about the albums when he was with
Sweeney
help,
Todd,
Sweeney Todd?
even more. He sounds like a 12-year-old on helium on those albums. He
Martin
sounds
likes
very much like
Martin's
Nick
into
Gilder,
those
the guy
records.
that he
Martin likes it.
replaced. He sounds
Yeah.
very much like Nick Gilder. Very,
Yeah,
very high pitch.
he was only on the second one, right? Because
Yeah,
there were
it's
only
got that
two.
weird album cover. It's got the topless woman with the body of I think it's called
Yeah.
"If Wishes Were Horses." It's a really weird looking album cover, but
There
yeah,
was
they
only
redid.
there were only two Sweeney Todd records,
I
correct?
think so. Yeah, I
Oh,
think
look,
there's a
there's the
self-titled,
balloon.
and then there was the that second one, Bryan Adams, and
Okay.
then I think they broke up and then he went solo. But yeah, State of Mind from the first Bryan Adams solo album,
Wow.
totally yacht rock. Yeah.
I don't even think I've heard the first one. I've got the second one.
The his
I've heard the
Both of his
first one.
first two albums were like mined by people looking for songs to cover. So
Mhm.
on his first album, the first track on it is called "Hiding from Love." That song was recorded by a few people, including the band Nantucket. Um, Song on here called "Win Some, Lose Some" that Scandal did. Um, "Wasting Time" was done by the Jim Clench Connection. I think it was like a late '70s rendition of BTO when Jim Clench was in that band. And the song, oddly enough, called "Remember" that was recorded by none other than Bob Welch. So yeah, the first two Bryan Adams albums, like those songs appear like on the second album. You had "Lonely Nights" that Uriah
Yeah.
Heep did. "It Fits You Good." A lot of people did that song. "Jealousy." Yeah, just mining the songs, right? But To my knowledge, no one else has recorded State of Mind, and it's a shame because it could have been a hit if it was promoted correctly, especially in that time period.
Yeah, my favorite, just to go on record, Brian Adams' album is Cuts Like a Knife. I think
It's
that record's perfect.
yeah.
Perfect. I love it. I was one of those years. I remember 1983. We played Cuts Like a Knife and we played Synchronicity all summer, back and forth, back and forth,
Oh
back
yeah.
and forth. I'm that old, but I'm
Well, I
just
mean,
saying those are great. It was
yeah.
80, summer 83 was great. And those two
I remember when
albums.
those. I'm old enough to remember when those albums were new and I heard them on the radio all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there you go. What's your next?
That's it. I
Total
went
yacht
through
rock?
11.
Okay. All right. Well, I got two more.
Go ahead.
The next one you'd never ever think of this band as being yacht rock. You're going to think I've completely lost the plot.
I've already thought that already.
Well, I guess I got to sell you on this one.
All right, I'm
Basically, all anyone has to do is listen to it.
ready. Okay.
ZZ Top
ZZ Top.
from El Loco, 1981. This song actually was a single and it got to 79. It wasn't a big hit. The song is called Leela, spelled Leila. It's total yacht rock. It sounds like it could be a Beach Boys song. It doesn't sound like ZZ Top at all. It doesn't even sound like Billy Gibbons singing, although it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very mellow. It's very tropical. It's very like Hawaii. It's totally yacht rock. No one would ever think ZZ Top did it, but they did it at least once with this song here. And
I do have one that I can bring out.
All right.
It is my honorable mention that you mentioned the Beach Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not picking the Beach Boys, but I'm picking a Beach Boy. So we're talking off of Dennis Wilson's Pacific Ocean Blue album, the track Thoughts of You. Very yacht rock. Though his vocal delivery is not quite as smooth as the other yacht rockers,
right.
But it's a ballad. It's about relationships. Well, Dennis Wilson can provoke emotion. I love Dennis Wilson, don't get me wrong. And Pacific Ocean Blue is just a great track. I mean, great album. But Thoughts of You harkens back to the Beach Boys Sunflower album, where the song Forever, which is absolutely stunning. In fact, I could go out on a ledge and say Beach Boys Forever from 1970 could fit into this discussion.
Well, see, I think there are some Beach Boys songs that totally fit. Like my wife and I made up our own yacht rock playlist, and we put two Beach Boys songs in there. They are "Sail on Sailor."
Tim, you're 100%. Yeah, true.
And the other one, a little bit later in the 70s, "Good Timing."
Good timing too.
That's total yacht rock.
Total.
It's smooth. You're just not a worry, not a care in the world. Just good timing.
Sail on Sailor, though.
Yeah, what a great song.
100% dead on.
Yeah, lyrically and musically, it fits the bill. Yeah,
and one, and it's funny. You would think that would be like a go-to track, but
yeah.
Whenever I listen to, I never hear it. But my God, Tim, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my last track is a guy that there's two or three songs from his late 70s solo career that I could have picked because the record label Capitol was really just throwing everything against the wall in the hopes that it stuck, and nothing that he did for this label was successful. We had Van Halen a few songs ago. Well, not to be outdone. It didn't appear on a CD until 1992 when Capitol put this best of out. But I'm talking about Sammy Hagar and his version of Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, which was recorded
wasn't that on like his first album?
It's not on any of his albums. It was just recorded as a one-off single. It's not on.
Like from what era though? What era? When was it recorded?
1977 or 78 it was recorded. So it would have been like in between his like second and third. So like Musical Chairs or Street Machine. Like
I think before Street Machine, definitely.
So he's got 9 out of 10 scales, got a song on it that I was going to pick. It's actually a song written by Van Morrison called Flamingos Fly, which is total yacht rock. It's tropical sounding. It's by the beach. He also had a song called You Make Me Crazy, which was a minor like top 100 hit. That's very mellow, very smooth. But his version of Dock of the Bay is just nice and smooth, and it's got backing vocals from some of the guys in Boston on it, so it's like really smooth background vocals.
What?
Yeah, yeah. And
But
no one ever talks about it. Of all the covers, a lot of people did Dock of the Bay,
hold
but
up,
this version here totally could stand as yacht rock.
what's
No
that?
one would ever
What?
give it a second guess.
What's that CD?
It's just called The Best of Sammy Hagar. It came out in 1992 on Capitol
92.
Records.
Okay.
See, in '82, Capitol put out the album Rematch, which was like their best of when he switched to Geffen. But this one has a few more songs on it. So, yeah, for whatever reason, Capitol had him cut that song, and they just put it out as a standalone single. It never made it to an album, and nor did his studio version of I've Done Everything for You. That only ever appeared on one of his live albums. And of course, Rick Springfield had a hit with it, right?
Right.
But yeah, but Sammy's version of Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, that's my number one pick for a yacht rock song by a non-yacht rock artist.
When was the other recorded? I've Done Everything. When was that recorded?
78.
It was 78?
Yeah, 78. Wow. And then it appeared on his live album All Night Long. And,
so that was pre Street Machine. Street Machine 79.
Street Machine was 79. So he was prolific. So 9 and 10 Scale was 76. Then he had the self-titled The Red album in 77 and Musical Chairs. They both came out in 77. The live album All Night Long was 78. Street Machine 79, and then Danger Zone in 80. And then he switched to Geffen and started selling records.
But the studio version of that is on that CD.
Yeah, this CD has the studio version of Dock of the Bay and I've Done Everything for You.
This is why we have music discussions, ladies and gentlemen.
I love
turned me on to this, and I had no idea, Tim. And I love Sammy Hagar. And I look at some of these greatest hits records, and I just go, eh. But this greatest hits record is something special.
Every once in a while, you got to be careful because they'll pull a sneaky on you, right? And they'll slip one by you that if you don't get it, I don't know how easy this is to find now, but I can't imagine it would be that. I can't imagine it would be that expensive to buy used. But yeah, I would recommend anybody that likes the yacht rock stuff, even if you're like, I can't stand Sammy Hagar. No,
there
you
it is.
His version of Dock of the Bay.
1992.
It's very faithful and it's very yacht rock. It sounds like it was recorded in 77 or 78. Let me see what it says. Actually, here's the weird thing. 9 and a 10 Scale has a lot of songs on it that were written by other people. Like I said, it's got a Van Morrison song. The song China was written by Bob Welch, who we've also talked about. And then there's a song, I can't remember which song, there's a song there by Donovan, for crying out loud.
Oh, well, he did remake Young Girl Blues, which is on the live.
That's it. That's the one.
And it was on his first solo album. Now, I want to say that I've played the live version of Young Girl Blues.
Seems to me that he did a second Donovan song, and it's escaping me right now, of course, which one it is, because before I found any of Sammy's old Capitol stuff, I'd find these truck stop tapes that would just have mixed songs on them. So I have a hard time remembering which songs actually come from which albums, but I'm trying to find the liner notes in here. They're so small now. Okay. Oh, check this out. Okay. His next hit was a bit of a shocker. Without Hagar's knowledge, producer John Carter took a lighter turn by getting guitarist Steve Cropper, bassist Leland Sklar, and drummer Alvin Taylor to record the easy-flowing Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. Cropper Otis Redding composition, one of Sammy's favorite songs. He later laid down Hagar's lead vocals with harmonies by Boston, credited as the Boss Tones. So that's how.
Well, I just found one on Discogs, so I ordered it.
Awesome.
It's not expensive, so
it's a great version of that song, and it totally fits.
Yeah, I gotta have it. I gotta have it. Every time I do a show, I spend money.
Yeah, I've been told that I have that effect on people. But there you go, guys. I think between the two of us, we have assembled Grant's next yacht rock listening party.
I could form all that and play all these choices. I don't know when that would be, but yeah, that could happen. I've only done one yacht rock listening party though, but I think I did 2 hours though. But I try to mix it up. You never know.
We got some good stuff on here. Yeah, and great like great information. So this was awesome, guys. What non-yacht rock artists do you think produce yacht rock songs? Comment. Let us know. What did we forget? And Grant, I want to thank you for coming on. This was great. We'll have to have you on again. You're really busy with Grant's Rock Warehouse, and you've become like the guy for the Contrarians.
Yeah.
What's coming up? What can you tell us is coming up on either of the shows?
Well, on the Contrarians, of course, we do every Wednesday. In fact, I don't know when this is going to air, but every Wednesday we do a live chat at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right now, we're covering a lot of album covers. Um, but we have it's a standing. We didn't have a show like a week ago. Kind of took a break between Christmas and New Year's,
Oh
but
yeah.
we try to do that every Wednesday. But I do know that there's a show that I just got done editing on Contrarians where it is our best of 2023. So what we did was a panel discussion. It was pretty big panels, like 6 or 7 people, and we did our top five best of 2023. So that'll be coming out. That should be live tomorrow night. So there should be a
So that
premiere.
by the time people see this, it'll be
Yeah,
it'll be. If
it'll
you're not
be
already
over.
following the Contrarians and Grant's Rock Warehouse, what are you waiting for? Please do so.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, and again, I have to say because we had it was such an endeavor and we had such a good time doing it. Please check out our April wine series
Oh
on
yeah.
Grant's Rock Warehouse. With we started with Ryan and David, and then Ryan dropped out, and we got John Clauser, and we had a fantastic discussion. And then of course, when Miles Goodwin passed away, we had to do favorite
Or our
April wine.
tribute episode.
Yeah,
So
so
we did our like what was it? Our top
top five
five.
Miles Goodwin
Yeah.
April wine deep cuts. Yeah, so there you go, guys. So that's our picks for maybe not the obvious yacht rock, but I still think that put all these songs that we've talked about together, and you've got a pretty darn smooth playlist, whether it's summertime or whether it's the dead of winter like it is now, and you just want to feel like it's summertime. So there you go.
Mhm.
So Grant, thank you very much for sitting in, and we will have to do this again. I want to thank everybody out there for watching
Woo!
Tim's Vinyl Confessions.